Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is in the description below. It's your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. This is the kind of watch I love to present: rare, exquisitely finished, complicated, from a great brand, and notably fairly sized for a broad range of wrists. Launched in 2006 in a limited edition of 188 pieces, this is the Blancpain Leman Tourbillon Semainier Grande date. It is a big date weekly calendar that's a date 8 and has a flying tourbillon, a 7-day power reserve, a power reserve indicator, and a lot of other features too. In red gold, this watch is easy to wear at 40 millimeters in diameter, 14 millimeters thick, a remarkably compact 44.8 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, with a broad, modern 22 millimeter stance between the lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it wears beautifully. Now, the strap is brand new, so it isn't broken in. It's a little bit stiff and a little bit tight. I'm pulling it tight to sit cinched down on my wrist. But if this strap were a little bit softer from wearing in, the watch wouldn't be pinching my wrist in like this, and you'd see how much distance there is from the edge of the lug to the edge of my wrist. There's an enormous amount. You can see it best from down the barrel, from these two angles. And then from over the top, this is the angle that makes a watch look the largest, or the widest, I should say. You could still see that the lugs are well inboard of the edge of my wrist. And then, although it's not super thin, it does have that double domed bezel and a sloped flank, so it will fit underneath a dress cuff or a tight sleeve in almost all cases, and all jacket cuffs are good to go. We have alligator leather in gloss black with a sheer cut side, a monotone stitch. There's a rubber inlay on the bottom, which it just looks and feels great. Wonderfully comfortable, superb ergonomics, and it helps to isolate the leather from the heat, sweat, moisture, grit, and dirt of the wrist for a long life. We have a clasp that is a single fold deployant clasp. It's Blancpain branded, fully polished. And then it has a system where you take the strap, or you take the opposite side of the strap, you tuck it in, you pin one of the holes down on the pin that's present, and then it all closes up, snaps shut. It's a friction fit, and there's no need for minder loops. It's a very clean look. There's no excess strap length visible externally. It's nice to have that deployant clasp, a little bit of insurance against accidentally dropping your watch. The case will be familiar to Blancpain fans. We have this teardrop tapered lug profile that breaks rather dramatically from the case band. Negative tumble home to the case as it tucks in towards the case back. Most Blancpain watches do feature some sort of case branding. If you're familiar with the 2100s, the Le Mans, the 50 Fathoms, you're ready for this. Blancpain is the maker, and the case is different from what you'll find on the Seamasters and Submariners that dominate the space. They have lugs integrated into the case band. That is not what's happening here. We have little push adjusters for the calendar functions. We have a crown that is a screw down, and the watch, surprisingly, is 100 meters water resistant. Put it on a different strap, you could absolutely take this watch swimming. You may also be surprised that for a dress watch, and a complicated one at that, there's a lot of lume, including the sub-registers, for the power reserve as well as the day. The dial is black. It's a gloss finish. It has applied rose gold hour indices. We have rose gold skeletonized broadsword hands, and then kite hands for the sub-registers. We have a radial week of the year indicator. It is the Semainier, after all. We have a day and a double-digit date function. We have a flying tourbillon. Now, the flying tourbillon for Blancpain was designed by independent watchmaking great Vincent Calabrese. A flying tourbillon, invented back in the 1920s in East Germany by Alfred Helwig, is a tourbillon that does not have an upper bridge, so a flying tourbillon in this sort of application is easier to see and appreciate, and that is the idea. You could see there's a step down and a seconds track that allows you to use that tourbillon carriage as your seconds hand. It is a 1-minute tourbillon. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Take note, the tourbillon is entirely black polished. So black polished across its top. It's also mirror beveled or chamfered on its edge, and I'll do my best to pick that up, but it's hard to get light down into the well of the tourbillon from this angle. Rest assured, the anglage is as evident in person as the black polish is on camera. We do have a power reserve indicator, 7 days of power reserve, automatic winding, and there are little steps down to the discs. You can see how there is a slanted profile within each of these apertures. That prevents a sheer ugly cut through the dial. We have that gradual slope down to the discs themselves. Flipping it all over, Let's take a look at that rotor first, because that's a highlight here. The rotor has been freehand skeletonized and engraved. This wasn't done by a drill bit. It wasn't done by laser ablation or CNC. It wasn't even done with a guilloche's rose lathe. This was done by eye and hand, such that no two will be exactly alike, and it is absolutely gorgeous in white gold. You can also see that the bevels meet in interior angles where they converge within this rotor. Difficult to see because the rotor keeps tumbling, so you'll have to take my word for it, but spectacular in person. The movement is technically sophisticated. Automatic winding with a 7-day power reserve, a flying tourbillon, week of the year, day, double-digit date. It beats away at 3 Hertz. It pivots on 35 joules. It is adjusted in 5 positions, which is the high horology and chronometer standard, and it is nicely decorated. You can see that the upper bridges and the base plate feature an engine-turned perlage. The bridge for the winding system features Côte de Genève on its side. Take a look at the quality of the beveling on the rotor, but also the edge of the bridges. We have solarization on the ratchet wheel. You can see that we have a nice polished swan's neck style click spring adjacent to that. The core of the crown wheel has been solarized. There's satination on the wheels. All screw heads have been black polished. Deeply impressive stuff. And again, deeply impressive in as much as it is beautiful and technically accomplished, but this caliber 3725 also is protected down to 100 meters thanks to the case, making this watch not just a jack of all trades, but a master of almost all of them. A genuinely impressive watch that surpasses all expectations for what's available at this price point. This watch sold new for $146,000. Pre-owned, it's about $66, $67. That is the definition of value. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.